Some Ram truck owners will need to take a trip to the dealer. Chrysler is recalling more than 129,000 of its My Ram 1500 pickups that
Federal regulators just told Ram owners, don't park your truck in the garage. It might ignite on its own. This isn't a rare defect. It's a $50,000 machine being branded a fire hazard. And the scariest part? Fires were just the beginning.
officials say the glitch could cause drivers to erroneously signal for a lane change, which could result in a potential accident.
Ram owners now face rollaways, emissions fraud, and resale values collapsing overnight. So why are recalls still failing? Why do owners lose thousands even after fixes? And why is loyalty being repaid with lies? Because before this video ends, you'll see Ram's betrayal runs deeper than anyone thought. What's happening? You bought your truck because it was supposed to be the one machine you could always count on. It hauls your gear, gets you to work, and carries your family safely down the road. For decades, Ram has built its reputation on toughness and reliability. But this year, that reputation went up in smoke. Federal regulators told hundreds of thousands of Ram heavy-duty owners to keep their trucks parked outside, because they might spontaneously catch fire. Imagine buying a $50,000 vehicle and then being told you cannot even trust it in your own garage. The advisory wasn't optional, it was a warning. Inside certain Cummins-equipped heavy-duty models, electrical components could overheat, sparking fires whether the truck was running or not. Think about that for a second. You leave for vacation, your house sits quiet, and the very machine you rely on could ignite in your driveway. That is not a quirk. That is a betrayal. Truck owners are proud, loyal, and patient. They know machines need maintenance, but there is a world of difference between routine wear and tear and a defect that makes you afraid to park under your own roof. Ram tried to frame it as a temporary precaution. Owners saw it for what it was, another reminder that corporate negligence can put ordinary families in danger. And as frightening as fire is, it was only the beginning, because the next problem wasn't about where you park. It was about whether your truck stays put at all. The rollaway fix didn't hold. Every truck owner knows the feeling of dropping a shifter into park, hearing the click, and trusting the vehicle to stay exactly where it is. It is second nature. You step out, load cargo, or walk inside with your kids, never worrying that the machine behind you might suddenly lurch forward. But now, even that simple trust has been shattered. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has opened a new investigation into over 1 million Ram 1500 trucks that were already recalled years earlier for rollaway issues. Owners were told the fix was complete, yet complaints have piled up that trucks still move on their own, even after receiving the so-called remedy. Imagine stepping out of your driveway only to see 2 tons of steel rolling toward a neighbor's car, or worse, a child on a bike. That is the nightmare Ram promised to prevent. Instead, we are left questioning every time we shift into park. The sense of betrayal cuts deep, because this isn't a new problem. Ram already admitted something was wrong when it issued the original recall. But rather than eliminate the danger outright, the company applied a bandage. Now the wound is open again, and it is truck owners who are left living with fear. If a recall cannot be trusted to truly fix the issue, what does that say about the company behind it? The answer becomes even clearer when you follow the trail from safety failures to emissions lies. If this already has you questioning what's really happening with our trucks, hit the subscribe button and drop your own experience in the comments. I promise you're not alone. EcoDiesel was a dirty trick. When Ram rolled out its EcoDiesel engines, they promised the best of both worlds: legendary truck torque with eco-friendly emissions. Buyers lined up and paid extra for the technology, believing they were getting cleaner, smarter power. For working families and small business owners, it felt like a responsible upgrade, strength without the guilt. But investigations later revealed the truth. EcoDiesel wasn't clean at all. Behind the marketing slogans were hidden software programs that tricked emissions tests. Out on real roads, these trucks polluted far more than allowed. That means every owner who proudly told neighbors about their clean diesel investment was unknowingly driving a fraud. We were not just misled, we were made into props in a corporate cover-up. Worse, we paid thousands more for the privilege. Imagine working overtime to afford the upgrade, believing you were making a smart and responsible choice, only to learn you had been sold a lie. That is humiliation no family should endure. Ram and its partners eventually admitted wrongdoing, settling with regulators and promising fixes. But by then, the damage was done. Owners' trust was gutted, resale values took a hit, and the image of Ram as a reliable workhorse turned into a punchline. It wasn't just dirty fuel in the tanks. It was dirty tricks in the boardroom. And if you think government fines mean justice, hold that thought, because the money being collected doesn't rebuild your trust. repair your truck, or return your lost value. Billions in fines, nothing for us. When Cummins and Ram were hit with record Clean Air Act penalties, the headlines sounded massive. $2 billion in penalties, $325 million in environmental projects, and more than 600,000 trucks forced into recall programs. News outlets framed it as a reckoning, a message that no company is above the law. But ask any Ram owner if they feel like justice has been served, and you will hear a very different story. Because while governments cash billion-dollar checks, the people who actually bought these trucks are still living with the consequences. Software updates promised to fix emissions issues often left owners with reduced performance and lower fuel economy. Warranty extensions offered some protection, but they did not undo years of lost value on the used market. And through it all, the executives who signed off on the deception walked away with bonuses intact. For families, small businesses, and contractors who rely on these trucks every single day, billion-dollar penalties are meaningless if the trucks in their driveways still feel like ticking time bombs. Money changes hands between corporations and regulators, but not 1 cent replaces the confidence lost by owners who were misled. And that is the cruelest twist of all. The biggest fine in clean air history did nothing to restore the one thing that really mattered: trust. So if the fines don't fix our trucks, what will? Recalls as a business strategy? If it feels like Ram trucks are constantly under recall, that is not your imagination. Fires, rollaways, emissions fixes, braking problems, the list keeps growing. But here is the truth: no one at the dealership will admit this is not a streak of bad luck. This is a calculated strategy. Companies like Stellantis, which owns Ram, treat recalls as tools to manage liability. They issue one campaign for a narrow group of vehicles, then wait and see if complaints continue. If they do, they expand the recall later. That way, they spend less upfront and hope fewer owners ever demand repairs. For truck buyers, it feels like we are guinea pigs in a corporate experiment. We buy with trust, we drive with confidence, and when something goes wrong, they drip-feed solutions just enough to stay ahead of regulators. Meanwhile, our lives, our families, and our livelihoods are the ones at risk. This is why so many owners are angry. A recall is supposed to be about protecting drivers, but in practice, it has become about protecting balance sheets. Trucks are sold at premium prices, marketed as bulletproof machines, and then recalled like disposable appliances. And just when you think the worst part is the defect itself, the real outrage shows up in the paperwork. Court papers reveal the truth. When you dig into the Department of Justice filings and Environmental Protection Agency consent decrees, the story gets even uglier. Stellantis and Cummins were forced into settlements that required extended warranties, emissions recalls, and in some cases direct payments to owners. On the surface, that sounds like accountability. In reality, it is proof that these companies knew exactly what they were doing. Court documents spell it out. Emission systems were designed to pass tests under laboratory conditions, then pollute more on the open road. Warranties had to be extended because the original promises were worthless, and entire fleets of Ram trucks had to be pulled back into dealerships, not because the company volunteered, but because regulators had them cornered. For owners, these settlements raise a painful question. If you need a lawyer and a federal agency to get your truck fixed, what does that say about the company that built it? Extended warranties may buy Stellantis time, but they do not rebuild trust. A warranty is a piece of paper. Trust is knowing your truck will not betray you when you are towing your kid's camper through the mountains. That trust has been shattered. And the worst part is that even when the courts force big changes, the day-to-day experience for owners still comes down to the same frustration: parts that fail, service departments that stall, and a brand that cannot seem to hold itself together. Even the small stuff breaks. It is not just engines, emissions, or braking systems. Even the small things on Ram trucks keep breaking, and they send the same message. This company is cutting corners everywhere. Owners have reported trim pieces flying off on the highway, mirrors rattling loose, and interior components wearing out long before they should. These may sound like minor annoyances compared to catastrophic engine seizures, but they point to a bigger problem. Quality control has collapsed. For families who spend $50,000 or more on a new truck, the expectation is simple. It should feel solid. If you cannot trust a mirror to stay on, how do you trust the powertrain underneath? If the door handle feels flimsy, what does that say about the engineering of the parts you cannot see? Every creak and every missing clip becomes a reminder that Ram is not building with the same pride it used to. This matters because trucks are more than transportation. They are work tools, family haulers, and symbols of reliability. When the small stuff breaks, it chips away at the bond owners have with their brand. And when that bond breaks, no amount of advertising can fix it. Competitors are already circling, ready to whisper in frustrated ears that maybe it is time to switch. But before you believe the "everyone struggles" excuse, remember this next part. Don't fall for "everyone does it." One of the oldest tricks in the corporate playbook is deflection. When owners complain, companies shrug and say, "Every automaker has recalls." And while it is technically true, it is not an excuse. Trucks are not budget cars. They are the lifeblood of families, farmers, and small businesses. We pay top dollar because we expect top durability. To be told everyone else fails too is nothing more than an insult. The difference with Ram is not just that recalls exist, it is the pattern of negligence, deception, and half measures that make owners feel like pawns in a money game. Ford and Toyota may have their issues, but they are not being dragged into billion-dollar emission scandals while also telling families to park trucks outside for fire risk. Stellantis cannot hide behind industry averages when their own track record screams betrayal. Truck owners have been loyal for generations. Grandfathers bought Dodge, fathers bought Ram, and sons grew up believing the badge meant something. But loyalty is not blind, and the excuse of "everyone does it" collapses when people realize how deeply they have been misled. Owners are not asking for perfection. They are asking for honesty and durability. And if Ram will not provide it, someone else will. Because the problem is no longer whether a truck might fail. The problem is whether you can trust the company that built it in the first place. Software updates kill resale value. Imagine driving to the dealership for a recall, expecting a quick fix that makes your truck safer, and instead walking out with a machine worth less money than when you pulled in. That is what owners of Ram EcoDiesel trucks have been facing. The recall updates to emissions software may take less than 10 minutes to install, but the impact on resale value can be measured in thousands of dollars. Buyers talk, markets listen, and suddenly your truck is worth 15 to 20% less at trade-in. For owners still paying loans, the hit is brutal. You can owe $40,000 on a truck now valued at $32,000 after the update. That is not just depreciation. That is a corporate decision cutting directly into family finances. Dealers quietly admit that trucks with updated emission software are harder to move, while buyers hunt for pre-flash models, even if those are technically dirtier. This is how deception multiplies harm. First, you were sold a truck under false claims of clean power. Then you were forced to return for a recall. Now you carry the financial weight of a truck the market sees as damaged goods. That is equity stolen from working people. And if the loss of money was not painful enough, there is another cost you cannot measure in dollars. Fear. White-knuckle driving in a Ram. Driving a new truck should bring peace of mind. Instead, many Ram owners grip the wheel with white knuckles, wondering if the vehicle will betray them at highway speed. Fire risks, rollaways, and braking system failures have created an atmosphere where every trip feels like a gamble. One moment you are towing your family camper, the next you are wondering if the braking hydraulics will hold. One moment you are parked at the job site, the next you fear the truck will slide into traffic on its own. This constant anxiety eats away at what owning a truck is supposed to mean. For generations, pickups were symbols of strength, stability, and safety. Now owners share stories of near collisions, terrifying breakdowns, and the sickening feeling of being stranded with a disabled truck miles from help. Small business owners lose days of work when their trucks are stuck at service centers. Families question whether it is safe to put children in the backseat. The worst part is that this fear is not irrational. Government data confirms accidents and injuries linked directly to these defects. Trust has been replaced with tension, and pride has turned into paranoia. People did not pay $50,000 for a rolling anxiety attack. They paid for reliability, and since the company will not freely deliver that, many owners are now turning to the only arena where corporations are forced to listen: courtrooms. You've seen how deep this betrayal runs, and there's more coming. Subscribe right now so you don't miss what breaks next. Every new recall, every hidden document, we'll expose it here first. Don't just watch history happen, be part of the community demanding answers and real accountability. The fight moves to courtrooms. When corporations refuse to take responsibility voluntarily, the battle shifts to judges and juries. Across the country, class action lawsuits are piling up against Stellantis and Cummins. Plaintiffs are demanding buybacks, compensation for diminished value, and reimbursement for catastrophic repairs that never should have been their burden. For once, Owners are hoping the legal system will succeed where corporate conscience has failed. Lawyers argue that recall fixes are inadequate and that owners are being forced to live with unsafe, underperforming vehicles. In some cases, the remedy is compared to placing a bandage on a bullet wound designed to cover liability, not cure the problem. Courts have already shown they can hit these companies where it hurts. In past engine defect cases, juries awarded hundreds of millions to customers after uncovering proof that executives ignored internal warnings. For truck owners, lawsuits are not about striking it rich. They are about fairness. A contractor in Michigan who bought a Ram heavy-duty to build his livelihood should not face bankruptcy because an engine seizes outside warranty. A family in Texas should not gamble with their safety every time they merge onto a freeway. Class actions represent a chance to make wronged owners whole and to force the companies to stop treating loyalty as a weakness to exploit. But as powerful as courts can be, the next wave of accountability is already brewing from another direction, the government itself. Government returns with new demands. When the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration reopens an investigation, it sends a clear signal. The story is not over. Regulators have now launched a fresh probe into over 1 million Ram 1500 trucks that were already recalled for rollaway issues. Complaints kept coming in, and the agency wants to know if the so-called fix actually worked. For owners, this is both validation and frustration. Validation, because the government is finally echoing what drivers have said for years. The remedy was not enough. Frustration, because it means the nightmare is far from over. The implications are huge. If regulators determined the recall was insufficient, Ram could be forced into a broader, more expensive fix. That could mean expanded recalls, mandatory engine or transmission replacements, or new financial penalties. It could also mean more months of uncertainty for owners who just want a safe and dependable truck. The return of government scrutiny shows how serious this has become. Stellantis cannot keep pretending that a quick patch solves the crisis. Real accountability may be coming, and it might finally give owners the repairs and respect they deserve. But for now, families remain stuck in limbo, driving trucks they cannot fully trust, waiting for an answer that never seems to come. Wall Street shrugs, we pay. When the headlines announced billions in fines against Ram's parent company and Cummins, investors barely flinched. Wall Street treated it as nothing more than another line on a balance sheet. To them, it was simply a cost of doing business. Stocks dipped for a day, analysts shrugged, and then attention shifted to the next earnings report. For executives and shareholders, the penalties looked manageable. But for the people who actually bought these trucks, the story feels completely different. Every family still paying off a loan, every contractor relying on a pickup for their livelihood, lies awake at night wondering if the truck in their driveway is a liability waiting to explode. The money may be small to investors, but it is massive to ordinary owners watching their equity drain away. When a software flash cuts thousands off resale value, that is not an accounting note. That is a mortgage payment, a child's tuition, or the difference between keeping a business afloat and shutting it down. This is the disconnect that makes owners furious. Wall Street sees recalls as temporary blips. We see them as betrayals that reach into our wallets and our homes. And when financial elites shrug off what we live through daily, the anger builds into something bigger, political pushback. Jobs and politics on the line. Recalls are not just a corporate problem. They ripple through entire communities. When Ram plants slow down production to deal with faulty parts or unsellable trucks, thousands of workers feel the squeeze. Union leaders have begun warning that Stellantis' decisions are costing jobs, paychecks, and local tax revenues. Governors from manufacturing states have started weighing in, knowing their economies ride on whether these plants stay healthy. For truck owners, this is infuriating because our tax dollars have helped fund incentives and subsidies for the very companies now cutting corners. Billions have flowed into the auto industry in the name of innovation and cleaner transportation. Yet what did we get in return? Fires, rollaways, emission scandals, and job insecurity. We are the ones who pay at both ends. First through taxes, and second through defective products. Politics inevitably enters the picture when the stakes get this high. Legislators hear from angry constituents who cannot sell their trucks or are afraid to drive them. Local leaders face pressure when layoffs loom at plants tied to recalls. Suddenly, Ram's scandal is no longer just about mechanics. It becomes about trust in government oversight, fairness in subsidies, and the protection of blue-collar communities. And while political pressure grows, rivals in the industry sense opportunity. Ford, Toyota, Chevy circle in. Competitors never waste a crisis, and Ram's missteps have opened the water. Ford, Toyota, and Chevrolet dealers are already offering special trade-in programs designed to lure frustrated Ram owners. ads quietly highlight their own reliability while pointing to Ram's recalls without naming them outright. Some dealers even promise cash bonuses or extra warranty coverage if you switch brands today. For angry truck owners, the temptation is real. Who wants to keep paying for a machine they no longer trust? Yet this creates a bitter dilemma. On one hand, competitors offer a way out of the mess. On the other hand, why should anyone trust them either? Ford has had its own recall nightmares, Toyota has wrestled with frame rust scandals, and Chevy is dealing with its own defective engines. Switching may feel like revenge, but it may also just mean trading one set of problems for another. What makes this moment dangerous for Ram is not just the recalls themselves, but the collapse of loyalty. Truck buyers used to stick with their brand for life. Now, brand loyalty feels fragile. When your identity as a truck owner is shaken, every shiny conquest ad starts to look appealing. And that brings us to the ultimate question. What will it take for Ram to repair the damage? What Ram really owes us? After years of fires, rollaways, emissions, lies, and courtroom battles, truck owners are tired of apologies. Press releases and advertising campaigns will not fix what has been broken. Ram owes its customers something far more real. They owe us proper engine replacements, not patches. They owe us extended warranties that actually mean peace of mind, not pieces of paper designed to delay responsibility. They owe buybacks for trucks that never should have been sold in the first place. This is not about squeezing money from a corporation. It is about restoring faith in a product that was supposed to be the backbone of work and family life. Owners are not asking for perfection. They are asking for what was promised. A truck that is safe, durable, and dependable. Every broken promise cuts into more than finances. It cuts into identity. For many, trucks are not luxury toys. They are tools of survival, symbols of pride, and anchors of daily life. Ram cannot repair that trust with spin. They can only repair it with action, real fixes, fair compensation, and a commitment to change how they build and sell trucks. Until then, owners will continue to feel betrayed. Because at the end of the day, a truck should be the one thing you can count on. And right now, too many Ram owners cannot. They sold us strength, reliability, and trust. Instead, we got fires, rollaways, and lies. But this isn't just about trucks. It's about us, the people who depend on them. Every family, every worker, every community deserves better. Don't let this end here. Share this video, tell your story below, and subscribe now, because together we are louder than any corporation, and we're not stopping until accountability is real. Remember, your truck should protect you, not betray you. Stay vigilant, stay informed.